One of the biggest campus in Turkey.
Yeah, okay.
Alpay Hocam başlayabiliriz.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good evening to those who are joining us from Turkey, and good afternoon in Czechia. It's my pleasure to introduce you Professor Jirí Kelmeš. He is currently the head of Sustainable Process Integration Laboratory in Brno University of Technology in Czechia. Professor Kelmeš is a prolific researcher. He has many papers, covering, a wide range of issues, from green technologies to waste management, recycling, soil quality, and so on and so forth. He has, either coordinated or managed over 90 international projects, if I'm not mistaken. And he is the editor of Journal of Cleaner Production and Chemical Engineering Transactions. And, well, if I continue reading his resume, he will not have any time to speak. So I'll stop here, and the floor is yours, Professor.
Okay. Many thanks for the introduction. Of course, I would very much prefer to be with you, because I very much like Greek cuisine and some famous Greek Turkish, because actually what is called Greek is Turkish cuisine and Turkish drinks. So
I'm off Greek, doesn't matter.
Okay, and because I can't, because of COVID, this is the second best way how to came. So let me to share the screen, and hopefully you can see the screen. Can you? I made the sharing my screen. You are screen sharing? Yes. Okay. Fine. So what I am going to talk today is it's very unpleasant topic. It's COVID-19, and COVID-19 pandemic changed our life, and changed our life in a very negative way. But it's always when it's cloud always has some silver outskirts, and I would like to go through what is happening, but what are possible challenges which can change our life after pandemic. And of course, because I am presently from the European Union, and the European Union is very much gender equality biased. So my co-author is a young lady, Ivan Fan. She contributed a lot. She worked on slides. She is very good in graphics. And her origin, as you can see, is Chinese, but she is Malaysian for several generations. And the second point is I would like to introduce to you my research group at the moment. And research group is, as I say, Brno. It was set up by European Union funding to attract top researchers to coming home. And because I spent nearly 1/4 of the century, most of my professional life in Manchester, well, in the UK, because I was in Edinburgh in Scotland, and after in Manchester, England, I set up the group, which is very highly international. And you can see we've got very different faces, very different nationalities, and also many different religions. But we live in big harmony and work very hard. On the right-hand side, there are two columns of our collaborators. And collaborators are people with whom we are running research. And it's not collaboration to visit each other and to have good time. It's, if you look at my publications, most of them are in collaboration with our friends and collaborators. And they've got one thing which is in common. Many of those quite famous scientists got their degree from UMIST, from University of Manchester Institute of Science and Technology. And I used to be a supervisor of a number of them, and I am quite happy that some of them are now presidents of the universities and top scientists. Okay, you already mentioned at the beginning the Journal of Cleaner Production. Journal of Cleaner Production is one of my babies, or well, grandchildren, because I've got 4, so this is the 5th grandchild. And actually, it's not a longer child. It's now a beautiful young lady, 27 years old, which is probably the best period of the life. And the only problem is that the journal became too much popular. Last year, we received 37,000 papers. And you can understand that it's not possible for a journal to run 37,000 of papers. So we have to be very selective and published only cream of the cream. Reject rate is something 85–90%, which I don't like, but that's the life. And in that case, we had to appoint another 2 co-editors-in-chief, a number of executive editors, and so on and so on. But site score and impact factor, even when we are growing, are quite good. And what we did, not to reject all the paper, we started Daughter's Journal. And I am editor-in-chief of one of them, which is called Cleaner Engineering and Technology, CLET. And it started less than 1 year ago. It's also published by Elsevier, and we already received more than 1,000 papers. Well, this is a journal which Elsevier would like to run, and it is open access. But up to the end of this year, you can publish the open access without any fee, without any charge. So you are welcome. And now let's talk to my presentation. It's about start is about footprints and circular economy. And circular economy is the term which is now used very much, not always in the right way. But actually, this world is fully running as a circular economy. It is the same with our bodies, because we are born, we've got life, and when we die, our body, after some period of time, is again building material for new lives. So the same it was for the centuries, but with the income of industrial revolution, the production line become not circular, but linear. It means to grab the resources, to produce something, to use it, and to dump it. And this is not how this planet can carry on, because we would take all the resources and create huge mountains of waste, emissions, and pollutions. So for this reason, we've started with a number of other researchers to explore how to bring circularity back. And one of our observations is it shouldn't be only this big circle, but the more small circles inside, the better. And the best is, which you can see, is reuse. Reuse, because when we use some product, the best thing is to use it again, as long as we can. If you are interested more, it's in one of our papers. But this is an example of what is happening. This is just top of toothpaste. And the traditional toothpaste cup number 1 was a screw about 0.3 grams. After it come innovation, when you were not needed to screw it, you just open it and put it back. But the most recent is cup number 2, which is many-fold heavier, use much more plastics, and well, why it is used? Well, because of marketing. Because in the supermarket shelf, this toothpaste looks as better. So this is the problem with circular economy and sustainability, because we are living in market economy and market would like to make impression on customers. And if we look how to measure the sustainability, everything is based on life cycle assessment. And everything relates to each other, water, energy, food, and some others. And when we would like to assess it, we should consider the system boundaries. And the usual mistake of many researchers and politicians and media is to make the system boundary too narrow. You know, just to consider the usage, the production, saying when I am producing this, I emit 10% less of CO2, but it is not enough. We have to assess everything from the cradle to the grave. Now, COVID. Well, it's a little bit more than a year. And I remember I was in the US 2 days before it came the closure. So I just escaped. And we assumed that the COVID would be something as a flu, say 3 months of infection disease, or in the worst case, SARS. Actually, this virus is SARS-based. But we are now 1 year off and still it's a lot of problem. So we started to do something to explore impacts of COVID. And this is the paper, Minimizing the Present and Future Plastic Waste, Energy and Environmental Footprints Related to COVID, which we published, we wrote exactly 1 year ago, and it was published in July. And it became enormously popular paper. It got within less than 1 year, sorry, 123 citation in Scopus, but it has got also a lot of impact on society. And impact on the society is measured not by number of citations, but something which is called altmetrics. And not everybody is aware what altmetrics means. And those are points which are given by citations, which is fine, by blogs, by Twitter mentioning, by Wikipedia page, but very much by newspaper mentioning and newspaper reaction. And we are very happy that this paper had so far 36 quotation in media, and I'm showing you some of them. Some of them I can't read because they are in, I believe this is Chinese. It was quoted by the World Economic Forum and the leading US and UK journals, but also by the journal called the Himalaya, which is Nepalese, and so on. So obviously the topic is quite hot. And this is not all. We also looked for what is happening with the environment. We started to fight COVID, and we need a lot of things which are called under abbreviation PPE, personal protection equipment. The most common are those respirators and masks, but we need also test kits, personal protective equipment, disinfection. We need to get emergency transporting. We've got waste treatment and some others. And what happened with the energy during the first lockdown is obvious from this graph. At the beginning, most countries locked everybody at home, and it looked that the lockdown for 2-3 months would be okay. But later it was discovered that not. And look on this curves on the top, which is actually China. China made a very efficient, sometimes drastic way how to deal with COVID, but at the moment they are okay. European Union has got a problem, because we've got a problem where it's a lot of people claiming that by lockdown and reducing possibility to socialize, that it's curtailing the human rights, but I don't agree fully with them, because the top human right is the right for the life. And the only way which we can do is vaccination. I will talk about vaccination at the end as well, but look what happened with energy. We've got around the year 2020 this drop, which is not too big, but the forecasts are that after recovery it will go up as well. And there are some forecasts, and it usually happens after each crisis, that the recovery is booming economy and a lot of energy needed. What about emissions? Well, again, at the beginning, emissions were reduced because people were prevented from traveling, no holidays, no long-haul flights, and so on. Well, some environmentalists said it's great, global emissions will decrease, but who knows? I personally, our models are saying when we manage with successful vaccination, it will be very strong growth. It was after each crisis. Well, here you've got decreases in emissions in megatons of CO2, and you've got end of World War II. You've got 1975, 1983 global recession. So far, the COVID is the strongest. And the strongest is in the travel, aviation, surface transport, public transport, industry not so much, power not so much, and residential is actually growing because we are working from home. And what about the waste? And this is our another paper to analyze COVID-19 influence on waste management. And waste management is the problem, because people are on one side are staying more home. We've got a lot of people using home office. At the moment, I am at home as well. And it means we are producing more waste from home, but also more COVID-related waste. And this COVID-related waste is dangerous, toxic waste. And if we would like to fight successfully COVID-19, we need to deal with the waste management appropriate. Look on this graph, which we took from Statista website. Many different cities have got huge increase in healthcare waste. And this is not only hospitals, because if I am using respirator has got the lifetime about 6 hours after it's not protecting sufficiently. So there are thousands and thousands of extra tons, and we have to deal with them properly. Another issue is, and this is another study, how to prevent people to meet at short distance. Okay, we can lock them at home, but on the other hand, they have to still go, say, for shopping, for supermarket. There are some professions when they need to go to their workplace. And this is the study from Singapore about parking spaces. Because believe or not, a huge parking space can be the hub which can infect a lot of people. As the driver can come, okay, in own car, but if the car is parked at a huge parking space and many people are coming out of the car and not directed properly and not spread it by time, it's ideal for COVID. COVID loves it. And now to this PPE supply chain. I think, I don't know how it was in Turkey, but in the EU, this COVID took us off guard. We haven't got enough face masks, we haven't got enough respirators, enough protected suits, coveralls, not enough gloves. So what? Obviously, the country which were offering it was and still is China, for two reasons. Because they were having pandemic early, they managed to recover, and China is producing a lot of plastic anyway. But this is fine for, say, supply and money, but it requires a lot of emissions. And a lot of this material is transported by planes. And planes are not the most environmentally friendly way of carrying goods for long distances. They are high speed, fine, but per ton of material, emissions are high. You can see the different surgical mask, respirators, protective suit, places where they are produced, and the supply chain. So if we look on masks, you can see a huge flow from China to the US. Respirators as well. US recovered quite fast, but at the beginning, they were very much relying on supply from China. So this is another issue which we need to consider. And now where are the bottlenecks? Well, we need a lot of raw material. We need a lot of labor and capital, because during the lockdown, which was in Europe for several months, it's not easy to increase the production. We need the manufacturing, distribution, and finally the logistics to the end user. So what are new opportunities and emerging developments? So far, I was just saying everything is bad, but COVID actually encouraged a number of activities which can be used very nicely in the future. I put a couple of them, not all, but you can read it. Distance meeting and distance learning, massive home office, e-shopping, e-socializing, intensifying data transmission, urban and sanitary reform. This is very interesting because urbanists, they realize that sustainable city of future should be built not by base of citywide globalization. It's much better to design it as micro rayons. It's the term 15 minutes city, which means all amenities which I need for the normal life should be within 15 minutes walk or bike from my home. And there are some attempts and it is possible. Very important health monitoring, robotic health monitoring. I think the next step is if everybody can get the monitoring of infection, and at the moment when I become infectious, my application is getting red and telling me I should do something. And intelligent traffic control, digital manufacturing, novel ways for deliveries, like say drones, autonomous car, promotion of renewable energy, and everything of this is based on Internet of Things. And IoT, Internet of Things, is a buzzword. And many people are saying it's the future. It is probably the future. But again, it's, as I learned in England, it's no free lunch. If I'm invited for lunch, even when it's free, I have to pay something for it. And I have to pay either by some services or some favors. And this is the same with digitalization and Internet of Things. What it is, I need a lot of energy. There are a huge amount of data, and they require a lot of energy. By the way, there are already some ways how to use waste heat from big data storages. Google big data storages are serving like source of heat for heating thousands of houses or air conditioning, because all this is based on electrical power, and when it's consumed, in most cases, it produces energy. Another issue is about AI, artificial intelligence, and we think it's easy, but actually you realize when you start to study artificial intelligence how efficient and genius is our brain. Because to train artificial intelligence for not a very complicated task requires a lot of energy and a lot of greenhouse gas footprints. Here you've got comparison between air travel from New York to Francisco, how much we emit as a human being for 1 year. Okay, if we've got American way of life, we emit much more. US car manufacturing and fuel consumption average for one lifetime, and training one artificial intelligence model, which has got about 213 megabytes. So this is a huge amount, and again, energy. And now we need the data transfers. And the data transfers are based on mobile networks. And okay, we had 2G, 3G, 4G, but this COVID-19 boosted income of 5Gs, which are very efficient, can carry a lot of data, but consume much more energy. But it's not all, it's already advanced work on 6G. So you can see what are energy drivers. Something can be saved when we improve efficiency, but improve efficiency doesn't mean less energy and less emissions. This is something which is called the Jeeves paradox. As an example can serve, I've got a car which consumes 10 liters per 100 kilometers. If I buy a new car, which is twice as efficient, it means it consumes 5 liters per 100 kilometers. Do you think that the amount of petrol I am burning would be half? Not really, because the car is twice as efficient. I will drive more, and it happens. So service demand increases. Now we can understand how it was possible, say, 20, 30 years to live without mobile phones. But we could. But everything again, energy and efficiency. This is very interesting graph. It's called Waves of Innovation. And it has been suggested a long time ago. It is interesting. One of the philosophers who predicted was actually Karl Marx. And he is nowadays very much forgotten. But this is still going. And he suggested something called creative destruction. And the philosophy is when we step to new wave of innovation, it actually is during the previous achievements. You know, the first wave was everything on water. After came steam, coal, of electricity. As you can see, railroads, steel, cotton. 4 waves were cars, trucks, oil, and gas. What happened? What was distracted? Horses were distracted. Coal were distracted. Now came 5th wave, digital networks, and actually 6th wave was very much triggered by COVID-19. Renewable energy, sustainability, e-mobility, smart cities, circular economy, and so on. So everything bad is good for something. Now, what about the renewables and something what is called footprint? Footprint is the methodology how to quantify how much emissions we are creating by a product or by a process from the beginning to the end, from the cradle to the grave. And so if we are talking about greenhouse gases, which is CO2, methane, NOxes, VOC, and others, it is not just by burning. And you can see here comparison, you are saying, okay, solar collectors are emissions free. Well, not really. We need to produce solar collectors. We need to mining quartz for silicon. We need to manufacture it. We need to manufacture solar collectors. We need to transport them. We need to install them. And not only, we need to maintain them. I've got on the house solar collectors, but even when city of Brno is comparatively clean, if you don't clean it for 3-4 months, efficiency is going down very considerably. And there were some attempts to use the Sahara Desert, which is in Africa, to place their solar collectors and transport the electricity to Europe. Okay, I was in Morocco where they've got pilot plant and they found a big problem. You know, solar radiation in the desert in Africa is huge, but it's okay until the first sandstorm comes. And sandstorms are quite frequent. And they put about 5 to 10 centimeters of very fine sand on collectors. And you can't brush them, because if you brush them, the surface of solar collectors would be disturbed and it wouldn't be so transparent. So they head to the desert to bring a huge amount of cistern on lorries to wash it. So no emission free. Solar waste, recycling. Well, there are some attempts, but at the moment, only 10% of US panels are recycled. And the cost is 12 to 25% for standard panel. Dumping them in the landfills cost about $1, but is it sustainable? It's not. So the problem of sustainability and circular economy is the cost. So I'm coming to the conclusions. And COVID-19 pandemics created worldwide crisis. It has got very severe impacts in many fields. It brought a need for investing in PPE, personal protection equipment, medical resources, but pandemic initiated and facilitated a new innovation step, creative destruction. And after each major crisis, the economy is coming through a period of strong growth. So we should be ready for this strong growth. But to be ready, we should exploit and promote all the innovation, all this Internet of Things, all this e-transport, e-shopping, e-learning, e-meeting. But we still should be careful. The high-tech business and science should be led to the innovation in the right direction, to be environmentally friendly, not to consume more than it is. And the last few slides invitation to my city, present city, because we are organizing a conference at the end of October and November, and it will be hybrid conference. It's another issue which came. This virtual conferences has got advantages and disadvantages, but because we are organizing a lot of conferences, we realize one thing: it's good and bad. You know, we are still generation which prefer to come and meet colleagues face in face. But if somebody lives on, say, the west coast of the US or Canada, it's a long way to Brno. Not from Istanbul. From Istanbul, it's quite reachable. So the person might decide to participate online. And we developed already the software and structure to make it hybrid and come very well integrated. So, but I would be happy to see you. There are few things for which Brno is famous. By science, Brno is the place of some very famous architecture. Also, in Brno was father of genetics, Gregor Mendel. In Brno, you probably know unit of supersonic speed, which is called Mach, in English Mach, because English can't pronounce H, Turkish, yes. And it was the person who was born in Brno and got his first degree. And there are some others. So at the moment, we've got a lot of authors who are already registered to come. It comes to 1,700, and on the slide is 50 nice countries. Just before the presentation, I've got another one, so 60 of countries. But here I've got small problem. You know, Turkey is just a poor relative. Turkey has got 2 registrations. It is the same as New Zealand, which is far away, or Cambodia. So I still hope that we can invite more Turkish people, either face in face or by virtual, because this is not too expensive. And this is not only this. The conference, because it's already 24th in the series, we will soon be making this conference for a quarter of the century. It also provides excellent opportunity for follow-up publication, virtual special issues. And as I know, a lot of Turkish friends and colleagues, Turkey is a good country for science, but H indexes and citation records for many researchers needs some improvement. And it is the way how to do it. So you are welcome to come. And the last slide is, of course, acknowledgement to the body who is paying our research. It's European Union supported project called Sustainable Process Integration Laboratory. And I am grateful for providing funding for this. And also I have to acknowledgement very much, because without this funding, I wouldn't be able to make this presentation. So thank you very much. And I believe we've got still a few minutes for discussion.
Thank you, Jirí. This was very thought-provoking. And, you know, I haven't realized that this is so, you know, a multifaceted, multidimensional problem. And, you know, it is honestly, you know, it's very, you know, difficult for me to digest this, you know, in half an hour. But we have a couple of questions, you know, if I may, you know, read
Sure.
These are actually, you know, 2 questions related to the, you know, to the essence of economics. You know, one is saying that, you know, one is about the growth, the other one is about the inequality. So, I'm going to read them, consequent, so, we can answer them together. One says that, I believe humanity has a huge environmental problem because of two things. First, people do not really care about future generations. Perhaps they care about their kids, but not grandkids. Second, there is also the tragedy of commons. Unfortunately, these two are very strong forces. This brings us to degrowth, which I find way too optimistic and utopian. The question is this: do you think degrowth will be a viable strategy for saving the planet and saving future generations?
Okay.
First question.
Yeah.
Let me read the second one because you may want to put them together. The second question is: what are the probable effects of the mentioned new opportunities and development on employment and income inequality at global and regional level, and on the future of capitalism?
Okay. Well, first questions. Both are very good. Well, I think what is happening in Europe and many well-developed countries, it is already coming degrowth, because the population is shrinking. If you look on many well-developed countries and the demographics development, they've got less and the more well-off, the less are women willing to get children. But not to only say there are women, there are mothers and fathers always making the decision. This is one issue. So some natural degrowth is coming. And if you look, for example, on China, China was subject of huge growth, which is more or less by sometimes draconic measures stabilized. The second thing is the quality of life, and this is the problem. As if I remember, I'm old enough, I remember when we had no central heating, no hot water. If I wanted to get the bath, we had to burn some wood and in the boiler in the bathroom to make it. So we used much less hot water. But nowadays, can you imagine to live without central heating? Can you imagine to live without air conditioning? And I personally, I'm strongly against air conditioning, especially in the countries like England. Can you imagine that new buildings in the UK have got more or less as a standard air conditioning? And I remember in Manchester, summer is coming one day afternoon, from 12 to 2 p.m. But still, and the problem is actually market economy, because the businesses are trying to persuade us to buy more. Buy more, your life would be more comfortable. And we can't blame them. But again, in the countries which are very well developed, this is changing. And in Europe, a typical example are Nordic countries. Nordic countries become very developed, very rich, and they realized that it's possible to buy 6 cars and to have the house with 16 rooms, but I can't buy clean air on the street. If I'm not walking with scaphandre and some source of oxygen. So they realized by a certain level of development that environmental cautiousness is important. But what is the problem? There are statistics that about half of the world population still haven't got enough food. They haven't got air conditioning. They haven't got central heating. They haven't got many things, and can we blame them? Because we got through this period some time ago, and now we are enjoying it. So I'm optimist, but not very strong optimist, hoping that when the whole world become rich and supply with all material things, all amenities, that people will start to think not only about the grandchildren, but even about the future generations. So this is my little bit philosophical answer to first question. Sorry, the second I forgot now.
Oh, that was about the impact or probable effects of this new opportunity and development.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Well, I believe that, as I said, everything bad is good for something, and even this crisis, they are coming again. If we go to the deep history, European population become more resistant to infection diseases. But why? Because about half of us died during the Black Death in the Middle Ages. So when Europeans came to America, the immune system were well equipped, but not Red Indians who lived in marvelous nature conditions. So this is like this, and we should from everything bad we should take the challenge. And about equality, I am strongly for equality, but it should be reasonable. I don't like the words like positive discrimination, because positive discrimination is still discrimination. It should be a real equality. I don't know if you know, it's one of my favorite book of George Orwell, Animal Farm. This is the final motto is 4 legs good, 2 legs bad, when animals took over human beings. So we shouldn't say equal opportunities. Equality is that we discriminate somebody. It should be always to bring somebody who is disadvantaged to the same level, but not by changing the balance. Not to replace humans with animals. And the final page of this famous novel is that animals were actually enjoying the life in equally bad way as humans used to do. So
yeah,
this is my
I believe the last sentence was that it was difficult for them to differentiate.
Yes. Who is who?
Animals from the pigs from the animals, pigs from the humans.
Yeah. So we should take the lesson from this.
Yeah. Thank you very much. Any other questions? You can write your questions on.
I'm looking on it. Yeah, degrowth. Okay. Anyway, if anybody has a question later, I provided my email address, so I'm welcome to discuss. I've got Twitter account. I've got LinkedIn account. I've got ResearchGate account, which is quite good for discussion. We are now having a quite interesting discussion about nuclear energy and about emissions as well. Okay, I see something. Emissions tend to decline and CO2 emissions will catch up. Okay, I'm a little bit, how to say, not following this huge hunt to arch enemy of CO2. I've got another lecture which I've got in St. Petersburg next Wednesday. So you are welcome to attend, and it's about CO2. And believe or not, if you look on the historical level of CO2, CO2 on this planet is falling, continuously falling, well, over millions of years. And there are forecasts which I can believe that life on this planet will finally finish. Okay, visit, I don't know, 10 million of years, but the reason would be deficit of CO2. And I don't agree that industry should throw billions of tons of CO2 in the atmosphere. This is wrong. But I also don't believe that CO2 is the largest enemy. The largest enemy are poison gases. You know, NOxes are very good. PMs, smoke, haze. Actually, on haze in megacities, the number of deaths per year is much higher than by COVID, and nobody bothers. So I think we should fight all emissions, not only CO2, all emissions, CO2 and others, especially NOxes. They are very dangerous, and also we should deal with PM and particle matters. And particle matters like microplastics, nanoplastics. You know, they are enormously dangerous because PM 2.5 is okay. If I've got a white chair and if it comes from burning the coal, I can see it on my shirt. But if it's PM below 0.1, it comes through my lungs to my bloodstream and causes cancer. So I think we should fight emissions, but all emissions, and also qualify it. What is danger for what? And regarding the temperature increase, again, if you see on this historical slide, the temperature on this planet went up and down very much. And the last thing about CO2, but PMs and others, you know, one volcano eruption can do enormous things, or fires in Australia, they can do a lot of things. And fire season in Indonesia, where huge thousands of square kilometers of forests are burned every year for one reason, to provide the space for agriculture. They are actually enormously polluting. So I think we should look on the planet in the whole, not like life cycle assessment. Yes?
There is one more question.
Yeah, okay.
I guess, you know, I got the message from, you know, the YouTube, but I guess, Hasan Hocam, can you ask your own question?
Yeah, so the 2050, so it can stop the global warming, yes. Okay, yeah, I very much agree. But I don't believe too much in protocols. You know, Kyoto protocols, Paris protocol, many protocols for one cynical issue: money matters. And you can see it on huge countries. They are using the source of energy, which is the cheapest, until one level, as I mentioned, when the country is so well developed that people start think about environment as the most precious issue. So this is my answer. Yeah.
Hasan Hocam.
Duyuyor musunuz?
Duyuyoruz hocam.
Can I talk?
Yes hocam,
yes,
buyurun.
yes.
Thank you very much, Professor. It's really a very nice talk and illuminating talk for us. You talk about circular economy, cleaner production, a new sustainable paradigm. But we need to, first of all, we need to save people's lives. And secondly, we need to save people livelihood. They have to earn money. So can we talk about the sustainability revolution, which means redesigning of our unsustainable economic model? Can we transition to a new paradigm when where growth decouples from its harmful social and environmental footprint? Is it possible, so?
Okay, thank you very much. It's
We need some regulations as well.
Yeah, it's very good question again. I believe we can, but only when the society is on sufficiently high level of development. I think asking. I don't want to offend any country, but a very low developed country, if you ask a farmer who is just earning enough food for his family to degrow and to make less food for his family, it wouldn't work. If you can ask the person who is living in society where hunger is impossible for us, food which used to be 50 years ago, I still remember because I was born after World War II, when the food was brought by coupons, vouchers for loaf of bread. So this is over. When we are on very high level of development, it is possible. But it will take some time for the majority of the population of the world to come on this reasonable level. And we haven't mentioned some very sensitive topic, which are military conflicts. Military conflicts are, I am not politician, I am not a sociologist, but from my point of view, the damage on the environment is enormous. And Kyoto Protocol and Paris Protocol and carbon tax is not considering bombers and rockets and explosives. So this is another problem which is putting this development back. And unfortunately, even when we are getting more and more developed, we haven't got less and less military conflicts, which is very sad, but it's not my topic. So degrowth is fine when we grow enough. It is like with population, I'm nearly 2 meters tall. When I was born, I was very, very tall. Nowadays, when I go by public transport, the young guys, they are more or less my size and even taller. So I'm saying this is enough, no more growth, because it creates problem, because you can enter some doors and so on.
So how can we limit this growth?
Well, by people's body size, I don't know, but by economy, yes. And again, this is the case of Nordic countries, when they managed to change the philosophy. That material wealth is not everything. That the clean air, clean environment is more valuable. And in that case, I would be happy to have just one car. Another is it's something which we can provide, like shared cars, autonomous cars. It is and it is becoming already the reality that soon we will get in our mobile application, and I will tick, within half an hour, I won't leave my house and to go to the railway station or to the university. And the application looks and said, okay, you can get the car in 29 or 31 minutes, and comes autonomous car and brings me to the place. And in this case, it would be an enormous step for the quality of life, because megacities are actually soaked by transport. You can get Rolls-Royce and you can still travel faster. I can tell you, because Brno is about 500,000. With pandemic, I stopped using public transport. I'm walking everywhere. And to my surprise, the time difference is not big. If I went by car to the city center and if I walk, the difference is 20 minutes to 28 minutes. So technology can provide some things. And those are all this creative destruction. E-transport, autonomous transport, e-shopping, e-learning, all this can help. And but again, you can't get autonomous car and e-shopping for poor farmer who is having one cow as animal helping for farmers' duties. It needs to go to one development. But good point is actually, if you look to less developed countries, they are catching up much faster than we did, because from Manchester, from Industrial Revolution, it took a number of years to the development. In nowadays world, developing countries can jump quite fast, much faster. So it's good future. Of course, they can jump in the case if they are not starting military conflicts, and this is big danger.
Okay, thank you very much, Jirí, to have you here. We had Jirí Kelmeš'in from Brno University of Technology with us tonight. Thank you for being here, all the participants. Thank you, Aykut Attar, Mustafa İsmihan, and Tolga Omay, and Hasan Hoca, Hasan Kazdağlı, for questions.
Okay.
We'll see you. Hopefully, we'll see you in Turkey sometime.
Yeah, my pleasure, and I am very much looking forward to see you at our conference in Brno, at least some of you. Yeah. Because Turkey being represented by two persons, Turkey is a huge and mighty country, and I like it very much. Greece is much better, actually. So please come.
Okay.
And I definitely will come to Turkey immediately when I came. I've got the day before yesterday the second vaccination, but if it works, I hope to come.
We'll expect you. Okay.